Some people get gifts on their birthday. But I got a choice I never saw coming. A choice that tried to destroy me in front of everyone I loved. I remember the moment so clearly. The candles were still burning on my birthday cake. Everyone was smiling, clapping, waiting for me to make a wish. It should have been a warm moment, a simple, happy night. But my wife, Emily, wasn't smiling. She wasn't clapping. She wasn't even looking at me. She just reached into her purse, pulled out a thin beige envelope, and held it out like it was nothing more than a restaurant receipt. At first, I thought it was a card, maybe something sweet, something thoughtful for once. But when I took it, the room got strangely quiet. Even the music in the background felt softer, like everything around me already knew what was coming. I opened it. I read the first line. And my stomach dropped. Divorce papers. On my birthday. Right there in front of her friends, my coworkers, even my neighbor who barely knew us. The whole room froze. I didn't even have words. My breath just got stuck somewhere between my chest and my throat. Emily finally looked at me then. But not with sadness, not with regret. Her voice was calm, steady, almost practiced as she said, "It's for the best, Mark. We both know that. For the best?" For who? I stood there holding the papers like they were burning through my hands. My birthday candles were still flickering right in front of me, but it felt like every bit of warmth in the room had disappeared. Someone awkwardly cleared their throat. Someone else whispered, "Is this really happening?" I could feel their eyes on me. Pity, shock, confusion, all mixing together while Emily just waited for me to react. But what could I even say? How do you answer something like that? I tried to speak, but nothing came out. My own party had turned into a stage, and I was the one being pushed off it. Emily didn't stop. She added, "It's already filed. I'll move my things next week." Just like that. Like we hadn't spent years together. Like our life was something she could pack into a suitcase. I felt embarrassed, angry, stunned, all at once. But underneath all that, the worst part was the confusion. Why now? Why here? Why like this? She slipped the envelope back toward me, making sure I took it. Then she turned to the guests, forced a polite smile, and said, "Let's give him a moment." As everyone stepped away, whispering, pretending not to stare, I stood there holding my birthday cake knife in one hand and the divorce papers in the other. And in that moment, that cold, humiliating moment, I realized something. Emily thought she had everything figured out. She thought she was walking away with the upper hand, but she didn't know the one thing that would change everything. Not yet. Long before the betrayal, before the lies, before the envelope on my birthday. There was a summer night where everything felt perfect. When I think back, it almost feels like a different lifetime, a softer one, a sweeter one. It was the 4th of July, years ago. Warm night, fireworks cracking overhead, the smell of grilled burgers filling the air. I had been dragged to a neighborhood barbecue by a coworker who swore I needed to meet people. I didn't expect anything. I just wanted a cold drink and a quiet corner. But then I saw her. Emily. She was laughing with a group of friends, wearing this bright red dress that made her stand out against the crowd. She had the kind of smile that made everything else fade away. The kind that made you think, maybe life isn't so complicated after all. She walked over first, bold, confident. "Hey, I'm Emily," she said, offering her hand like she already knew I'd say yes to whatever came next. We talked for hours that night. About simple things, our favorite movies, dumb high school stories, embarrassing moments we probably shouldn't have shared. But it felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other way longer than just one evening, when the fireworks finally lit up the sky. She nudged my arm and said, "Make a wish." I didn't tell her, but I already had one. Everything moved fast after that. We went from late-night chats to weekend road trips. From holding hands to planning a future before we even realized how serious things had gotten. Within a year, we were talking about rings and apartments, and where we wanted to spend holidays. People said we were rushing. People said we barely knew each other. But when you're in love, you don't hear warnings. You only hear the heartbeat of the person next to you. We got married in a small courthouse ceremony. No big crowd, no fancy decorations. Just us, smiling like the world couldn't touch us. At the time, our dreams were simple. A cozy home. Stable jobs. A life built on teamwork and trust. I worked in residential construction. Long days, sore muscles, but satisfying work. I liked creating spaces where families could build memories. It made me feel useful. Steady. Emily worked in marketing. Sharp, stylish, always on the move. She could walk into a room and take control without trying. I admired that about her. I thought we balanced each other out. Life back then felt good. Not perfect, not magical, just good. We'd cook dinner together, watch movies on the couch, talk about future vacations we couldn't afford yet. I truly believed we were building something real. But looking back now, with everything I know, I realize something painful. Sometimes the beginning feels sweet, not because it's meant to last, but because it hides the cracks you'll see later. And deep down, even in those early days, there were signs I should have paid attention to. But love makes you blind to everything, except the person standing in front of you. And Emily, she knew exactly how to keep me blind. Every storm starts with a small cloud, and I didn't notice ours until it was already overhead. At first, the changes were so small, I barely saw them. A late night here. A short sigh there. A text she answered a little too quickly. Things that felt normal, because every relationship has its ups and downs. But then it all began to pile up. I remember the first time Emily turned her phone face down at dinner. We were eating pasta, joking about something from work, and her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and flipped it over like she didn't want me to see. She laughed it off and said, "It's nothing, don't worry." But after that, the phone never faced up again. Soon, she started working late. Every week. Then twice a week. Then almost every night. At first, I believed her. She worked in marketing, deadlines, meetings, big clients. It made sense, but it wasn't the work that worried me. It was how she came home, distracted, distant, barely interested in talking. She'd drop her bag, sit on the couch, and scroll through her phone like the world around her didn't exist. Our conversations got shorter. Our laughs got fewer. Our time together turned into silent routines. I tried to ask if something was wrong. She always had the same answer. "I'm tired, Mark. Can we not do this right now?" I told myself she just needed space. I told myself it was normal. But deep down, there was a feeling I couldn't shake, a quiet ache, telling me something wasn't right. And then the criticism started. Little comments at first, harmless jokes about my job or my habits. But over time, they turned sharper. "You're too predictable. You don't push yourself enough. You're okay with being average, aren't you?" She said these things casually, like they weren't meant to hurt. But they did. I worked hard every day. I took care of our home. I supported her when she took risks in her career. But suddenly, nothing I did was enough. One night, we were getting ready for bed, and she sighed and said, "Mark, sometimes I feel like I'm growing, and you're staying the same." I didn't know what to say. How do you respond when the person you love makes you feel small? Unimportant? Replaceable? I tried harder after that, planning dates, cooking dinners, surprising her with little things. But she barely noticed. She was always checked out, always somewhere else in her mind. People think marriages fall apart in one dramatic moment. But the truth is, it's quieter than that. It's the slow fading of warmth. The slow pulling away. The slow realization that the person sleeping next to you has already stepped out emotionally. And even though I didn't want to see it, even though I tried to ignore the signs, somewhere inside me, A voice whispered what I was too afraid to say out loud. Something deeper is going on. And whatever it is, it's pulling her further and further away from me. Sometimes the truth doesn't hide. It stands right in front of you, waiting for you to stop pretending. The signs were there long before my birthday. Bright, loud, obvious, like warning lights on a dashboard. But I brushed them off because admitting them felt too painful. One afternoon, my neighbor Mrs. Grant caught me while I was unloading tools from my truck. She's the kind of woman who notices everything on the street, every car, every visitor, every missing trash can. She leaned over the fence and asked, "Mark, were you expecting company while you were out last week? I saw a car parked in your driveway for a few hours." I forced a smile and shook my head. No, probably a delivery or something. But inside, my stomach tightened. Because Emily never mentioned anyone coming over. And when I asked her later that night, she shrugged and said, "Oh, must have been a wrong address," without even looking up from her phone. She didn't ask for details. She didn't act surprised, she just dismissed it. Then there were the weekend trips she started saying she was going to her sister's house to clear her mind. At first, I thought it was healthy. Everyone needs a break sometimes. But these trips became more frequent, more sudden. She'd pack a small bag, kiss me on the cheek and say, "It's just for a night, don't make a big deal out of it." Except, she never brought back stories. No photos. No funny moments with her nieces. Nothing. Whenever I asked how her weekend went, she'd reply with the same tired line. "It was fine." Why are you so curious? Not curious, just confused. Confused why the woman I married suddenly had whole parts of her life she refused to share. Tried talking to her, really talking. One night, I sat next to her on the couch and said, "Emily, I feel like something's off. Can we please be honest about what's going on?" She didn't even pause the show she was watching. She sighed and said, "Mark, not everything is some deep problem. Stop overthinking." But it felt like she was building a wall between us, brick by brick, while I stood on the other side knocking, begging her to let me in, and each time I tried, she pushed me away a little more. Looking back now, I realize how much I ignored. The late nights, the whispered calls, the coldness in her voice, the way she flinched when I walked into a room, like I was interrupting something. But I kept telling myself, she just needs space. She's stressed from work. She still loves me. She has to. The truth is, I ignored the signs because I was scared. Scared of what I'd find if I started asking real questions. Scared of losing the woman I had built my whole life around. Scared of facing the possibility that our marriage was slipping away right in front of me. So I stayed quiet. I pretended everything was fine, and that silence became the biggest mistake I ever made. Because the signs I ignored were leading to something much bigger. Something I wasn't ready to see. Not yet. Some celebrations feel wrong before they even begin. Like your heart knows something your mind refuses to see. A week before my birthday, Emily suddenly became enthusiastic. Too enthusiastic. She walked into the kitchen with this bright, forced smile and said, "We should throw you a big birthday party this year. You deserve something special." It caught me off guard. For years, my birthdays were quiet. There, maybe a small cake, nothing dramatic. I liked it that way. But she insisted this time, pushing the idea like she had already planned it before asking. I tried to suggest something simple. Maybe just a small dinner, nothing big. But she shook her head. "No, you need a real celebration." I already invited people. Already invited people? That should have been my first clue. The day of the party arrived. And from the moment I walked into the living room, I realized something strange. I barely recognized anyone. Most of the guests were her coworkers, her gym friends, her old college roommates, people who barely knew me. People who said things like, "Happy birthday," I think we've met once. My own friends? Two showed up. Two. Everyone else was connected to her. Emily floated around the room, like a host at a business event, checking on snacks, adjusting decorations, laughing loudly at conversations that had nothing to do with me. And every few minutes, she'd glance at her phone. Then again. Then again, her screen lighting up over and over, her eyes darting to it like she was waiting for something, or someone. I tried to shake off the uneasy feeling. This was supposed to be my night. I didn't want to ruin it by overthinking. So I talked to people, accepted drinks, pretended to be comfortable. But the energy was off. Very off. There was this coldness in the air, like everyone there was playing a part in a script I didn't know about. Around 9 o'clock, the moment before the cake came out, I noticed something else. Emily wasn't standing beside me. She wasn't holding my arm. She was across the room, whispering to someone near the hallway, clutching her phone like a lifeline. When she finally walked back over, she wore a smile that didn't match her eyes. It felt rehearsed, stiff, plastic. The lights dimmed, people started singing. And I swear, something inside me whispered that the night was about to turn upside down. Her friends gathered around the table, smiling too wide, clapping too hard. Even the air felt heavy, like everyone was waiting for something I couldn't see. I looked at Emily. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the envelope in her hand, a small, beige envelope that she kept gripping tighter and tighter. And in that moment, right before I blew out the candles, I knew. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew it wasn't a gift. It wasn't love. It wasn't anything a birthday should bring. It was something colder. Something planned. Something that would change everything. Some mornings feel heavy before you even open your eyes. Like the world already knows something you're still trying to understand. The morning after the party, I woke up to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind. The kind that feels like it's sitting on your chest. The living room was still a mess from the night before. Half-empty cups on the counter, torn decorations hanging from the walls, a birthday banner leaning sideways like even it had given up. But what bothered me most wasn't the mess. It was that Emily was gone. No footsteps in the hallway. No coffee brewing. No voice saying, "We need to talk." Just silence. And a small sticky note on the kitchen table. I picked it up. It said, "Went out early. We'll discuss everything soon." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a note that felt colder than the envelope she handed me last night. I sat down on the couch, staring at the birthday leftovers like they were evidence of a life that suddenly didn't belong to me anymore. The divorce papers were still on the coffee table where I dropped them. I picked them up again, but reading them hurt just as much as the first time. I could still see the moment she handed them to me, the way she looked almost calm, like she had been rehearsing that moment for weeks. But that's what made everything worse. Why like that? Why in front of people? Why on my birthday? Why turn a celebration into a public humiliation? I replayed the scene in my mind over and over again. The artificial smiles, the whispers, the way Emily kept checking her phone all night, the forced excitement she used to mask something deeper. None of it made sense. Not until that moment. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, holding my head in my hands. The questions kept circling inside me like a storm. What had changed? Was she unhappy for longer than I realized? Was there someone else? Or was I truly as predictable and not enough as she once hinted? My chest tightened with a mix of anger and sadness. I wasn't just losing a marriage. I was losing the person I thought Emily was. The person I believed she still could be. But the suddenness of it. The way she walked away without hesitation. It felt like she had planned this long before my birthday. And that thought, that cold suspicion, wouldn't leave me alone. I looked around the house. The home we had built together, and something inside me shifted. A small spark of clarity. A whisper telling me the truth was bigger than the moment she embarrassed me. Something didn't add up. Something was hidden. And for the first time since the night before, I stopped asking why she ended things so suddenly. I started asking what she was hiding. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of the truth unraveling. Sometimes the truth doesn't knock. It falls into your hands when you least expect it. That afternoon, I started gathering the things Emily left scattered around the house. Her sweaters thrown over chairs, old receipts in drawers, makeup bags left open on the bathroom counter. She always had a way of leaving pieces of herself everywhere. Even now, after dropping a bomb on my life the night before, I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't investigating. I was just cleaning, trying to keep myself busy so my mind wouldn't drift back to the moment she handed me that envelope. But then, while sorting through the nightstand on her side of the bed, something caught my eye. A thin, dark blue folder, tucked all the way in the back. Almost hidden. It didn't look like something she used often. In fact, I had never seen it before. I pulled it out slowly, feeling that strange mix of dread and curiosity twist inside my chest. A part of me whispered that I shouldn't open it. Another part, the part that had been hurting in silence for months, pushed me to keep going. Inside the folder were printed emails. Dozens of them. Some short, some long. All between Emily and someone named Ryan. My hands went cold. The first email I read wasn't even subtle. It said, "Once everything is in place, we can finally make a clean break. I promise." Clean break. That's what she wrote. Not "I'm figuring things out." Not "I'm scared but hopeful." A clean break, like our marriage was nothing more than a project she needed to shut down. I kept reading. More messages. More late-night conversations. Dates that lined up exactly with her sister visits and her sudden work emergencies. There were lines that hit me like a punch. "I'm tired of pretending. He won't see it coming. Once the paperwork is done, we can finally start fresh." Each sentence cut a little deeper. I wasn't just losing my marriage. I wasn't even part of the decision. I was the obstacle. The thing she needed to step over so she could move on with someone else. My breath shook as I flipped through the pages. Months. They had been planning this. For months. While I cooked dinners. While I tried to fix what I thought was my fault. While I stayed patient, confused, hurting. She had already moved on. She wasn't leaving because the marriage fell apart. She wasn't leaving because she felt distant or unhappy. She was leaving for someone else. Ryan. A name that suddenly explained every late night. Every strange car. Every cold conversation. Every dismissive sigh. I sat on the edge of the bed with the folder open on my lap, feeling this heavy mix of anger, heartbreak, and something else I couldn't quite name. Not relief. Not clarity. Something sharper. Because in that moment, I realized the truth. Emily didn't break my heart last night. She had been breaking it for months. Quietly, piece by piece. And I had just found the final piece. Some secrets protect you, even when everything else is falling apart. After finding that blue folder and reading every cold, calculated message, something inside me shifted. The heartbreak was still there, the anger too. But beneath all of it, a strange sense of clarity started to rise. Emily thought she had everything planned. The timing, the delivery, the clean break. She thought she was walking away with half of my life, but she forgot one very important detail. The house. Our home wasn't ours. It was mine. I bought it 3 years before we ever got married. Every wall, every tile, every piece of wood, I paid for it. Out of my pocket. With my long days in construction and my weekends spent doing extra jobs just to afford the down payment. And the deed? Her name was never on it. Not once. Not during the marriage. Not during the renovations. Not during the upgrades I spent months doing on my own. She didn't pay a single dollar toward any of it. Not the mortgage. Not the materials. Not even the paint on the living room walls. But she assumed, like so many things, that when she walked out the door with her divorce papers, she'd walk out with half. She never asked. She never checked. She just expected. And that assumption was going to be her downfall. I picked up my phone and called an old friend, a lawyer I'd known since high school. I told him everything. The envelope. The messages. The sudden clean break. He didn't sound surprised by the story. But when I mentioned the house, he paused. "Mark," he said, "if you bought the house before the marriage and she never signed onto the deed, she has zero claim on it, zero. She can't touch the property, the equity, nothing." I felt something I hadn't felt in days, that relief, not happiness. Not revenge. Just relief, like the universe finally handed me one small piece of fairness. I sent him a copy of the deed. He confirmed everything in writing. It was solid, undeniable, untouchable. Emily wanted a clean break. She was about to get one, just not the kind she imagined. But here's where things shifted even more for me. I didn't call her. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or accuse or expose her. Messages to the world. No. I stayed silent, because sometimes silence is the loudest revenge. Sometimes the truth hits harder when you don't push it, when you let it fall exactly where it needs to. Emily had created her plan with confidence. She walked into my birthday ready to walk out with half. So I decided to wait and let her walk right into the truth she forgot, the truth she never even bothered to ask about. The house she thought she was taking from me was the one thing she could never touch. And the look on her face when she finally realized that moment was coming, soon. Some moments don't need shouting. Sometimes the quiet truth is enough to break everything apart. It was 3 days after the birthday disaster when Emily finally came back. Not alone, but with movers. 2 men followed her inside with empty boxes, ready to start packing. Emily walked into the house like she still owned half of it. She didn't even look nervous. In fact, she looked confident, almost proud. She gave me a quick nod and said, "We'll be taking the bedroom set and the office desk first. Then we'll get the living room furniture." The movers waited behind her, clipboard in hand, ready for orders. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't act hurt. I simply said, "Take only what belongs to you." She blinked, then laughed. A short, dismissive laugh that told me she truly believed she still had control. "Mark, please," she said, "we both know how this works. I'm entitled to half the house items. Let's not make this dramatic." But she had no idea. No clue. Not yet. I walked over to the counter and picked up the folder I had prepared. The deed. The proof. The truth she had never bothered to understand. I handed it to her. Without a word. She flipped through the papers casually at first. Then slower. Then slower. Her smile faded. Her breath caught. Her entire face shifted from confidence to confusion. Then fear. Her voice dropped. "Wait, what is this?" "The deed," I said quietly. "You're not on it. You never were." She kept flipping pages like she expected something to change. Like her name would magically appear if she searched long enough. But it wouldn't. It wasn't there. You bought it before we got married?" She whispered. Double quotes, "Yes. And you never contributed financially," I added softly. "Not a dollar." The movers exchanged uncomfortable looks. One of them cleared his throat. They knew. She knew. Her confidence. The same confidence she used to serve me. Divorce papers on my birthday, shattered right in front of us. "But I thought..." She stammered. "I know what you thought," I said. "But thoughts don't change the truth." She looked around the room, suddenly seeing the furniture differently. Not as shared belongings, but as things she had no claim to. Things she assumed were hers because she assumed I wouldn't know better. Her hands shook as she set the deed on the table. "So, what can I take?" she finally asked, her voice small. "Whatever is yours," I repeated gently. "Clothes, personal items, anything you bought yourself." The movers fell silent as she began walking through the house, slowly, painfully, realizing how little actually belonged to her. A few sweaters, some shoes, a box of old photos, her makeup bag, a laptop. That was a dot by the time she finished packing. She had 3 small boxes. 3 dots. She stood at the door holding them, looking nothing like the woman who once tried to dismantle my life with a single envelope. She looked defeated, quiet, exposed. "I never thought it would end like this," she whispered. I nodded. "Neither did I." And then she walked out. No movers carrying furniture. No victory. Just 3 small boxes, the truth of what she really had and what she lost. Sometimes the hardest part isn't what someone does to you. It's finding the strength to keep moving after the damage is done. When the door closed behind Emily for the last time, the house fell silent again. But this silence was different. Not heavy, not painful, just quiet. Peaceful in a way I hadn't felt in months. I stood there for a long moment, letting the stillness settle around me. 3 small boxes, that's all she left with. Not because I took anything from her, but because the truth finally showed what was real and what wasn't. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel victorious. Revenge wasn't what warmed my chest that afternoon. It was relief. A slow, steady relief that felt like a breath I had been holding for far too long. I walked around the house, the same rooms where we had once laughed, argued, dreamed. The same walls that heard every promise we made and every quiet moment we pretended everything was okay. Now those rooms felt mine again. Not because she lost them, but because I finally saw the truth behind the life we had been living. I thought about the early days, the fireworks, the road trips, the smiles that felt too good to question. And I thought about the months before the divorce, the distance, the secrets, the coldness she tried so hard to hide. Love isn't supposed to feel like a puzzle you can never solve. It isn't supposed to feel like you're always reaching for someone who keeps stepping further away. For a long time, I blamed myself. Was I not enough? Did I miss something? Could I have saved us? But now I understood something deeper, that her choices were hers, not mine. Her lies were hers, not mine. Her plan was hers, not ours. In the truth didn't destroy me. It protected me. As I sat by the window that evening, the sun setting over the quiet street, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't confused. I was finally free. Free from pretending. Free from chasing something that wasn't real. Free from carrying the weight of a marriage only I was trying to hold together. Know now that not every betrayal is meant to break you. Some betrayals reveal your strength, the strength you didn't even know you had. And sometimes, when someone tries to walk away with half your life, the truth steps in and protects you better than revenge ever could. I didn't celebrate her downfall. I didn't need to. Because real closure isn't about watching someone else fall. It's about standing up again. Stronger, clearer, and ready for a future that isn't built on lies. And that's exactly what I chose to do, walk forward. Not backward. Never backward. Thanks for watching. If this story hit you in any way, make sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. And if you've been through something similar, share your thoughts below. Your voice might help someone else find their strength.